Good morning, online English 12 students. It's Millerella coming to you from my classroom. I thought I'd make the video for the next 2 weeks worth of work ahead of time. So the next 2 weeks is basically 5 school days, no, 7, because the week starting on the 15th is 1 week, and then we only have 2 days before Christmas break. So the goal will be to completely finish reading Frankenstein. There is another FastBridge assessment that you need to take, and if you increase your score from the fall, you're going to get extra points in the test category, so you might want to try hard on that one. You need to take that test, so if you don't, you'll get tagged and might win, so just get it done. The instructions are in Brightspace. And then there's a skills assessment for a Common Lit called Minister's Black Veil. Not sure what's happening the rest of the school year because it's a new curriculum and I'm kind of being told what I have to teach, and I guess I'll find that out next week. Yeah, but anyway, I'm sure you can roll with whatever because you guys are talented kids. So let me go over my plot summary for Frankenstein so far. I know that the language is kind of hard to understand because Mary Shelley, the author, wrote this such a long time ago. Hopefully you're toughing it out and not relying on ChatGPT, I mean. Because you learn more that way. But I'm going to go over my summary. It's a little messy, but... Okay, so just a reminder. Wow, so messy. I blame my messiness on being a lefty. Okay, so this novel is a frame story, a story within a story. Right now, the monster's telling the story, so he is actually talking to Victor, that's Victor's story, who is talking to Robert Walton, the explorer, who is writing this down to his sister. Okay, so each person has their own narrative. So right now, we're in the middle of the monster. We find out when he comes to his senses, he's all alone. These are just the names he's been called so far. He doesn't have a name besides, an insult. Maybe we should call him Harry or something. But so he's just like a little kid at the beginning when he comes to his senses. No one's there to help him understand what fire is or food or anything. He just kind of figures out what to eat on his own. He finds some food in a cabin, and he gets run out of town. I think I talked about that. He goes into a town. He hasn't seen himself at that point, doesn't know how horrible he looks. And he runs away from these people and finds a lean-to, which he calls a hovel, in the DeLacy. It's right next to the DeLacy family's house. And so he basically hangs out there and he hides during the day. And at night he goes and gets wood for them and anything he can do to help the family. It's a really nice family. So Felix and Agatha are brother and sister, and their dad is blind, and they've had some hard times because they were exiled from their country, and that has to do with Safie and Felix. Anyway, so the monster's watching them, and he really gets attached to them. He wants to be part of their family. He wants them to look at him like they look at each other and encourage him like they do each other. So he just keeps dreaming about this, like constantly fantasizing about it. And he says, if I can present myself well, if I can learn to talk. And so he learns to talk and read by watching the family help Safie because she doesn't really understand their language. And he's like, well, if I can just, speak well, they can overlook my deformity. This is kind of his dream, right? That he sits at the table with them and they're like, we love you, monster. Welcome to the family. Pass the pepper, and so he finally, this is a mini climax in the story. So a climax in a story is when things can go one way or another for a character. And so the knocking on the door and him talking, so the monster decides to talk to the blind old man when he's by himself, which is pretty smart because he can't see him. And it's the first conversation he's ever had with another person. And so they talk, and the monster kind of hints about how he's attached to this family and he's going to present himself. And then the guy starts kind of catching on, and he says for sure he'll help him. But then the kids come back and they wig out. Felix actually starts beating the monster, and somebody faints, another person runs away. And so then he's devastated. So the climax here is that he is not accepted. If he were, that would be the end of the novel, and he would have found happiness, and they would have had like this monster in their family, and he would be helpful to them. But that's not how it works. So he gets enraged, the monster that is. The DeLacy family takes off. They leave. They abandon their house. So that night, it gets burned down. Those were supposed to be flames. the monster he's really, really ticked off. And he tears up their garden, he burns down their house, and he decides he's learned to read at this point, and he has Victor's diary with him. So apparently when he left the lab the day he was created, he grabbed some clothes and the diary was there. And so now he has read. Well, he's already seen himself in a reflection. He knows he's hideous looking, but he read about how he was made up of dead body parts and like all the steps that Victor took, and he is really ticked off. So he heads to, I haven't added this to my plot summary yet. He heads to Geneva to find Victor. And he says he's had it with people, but he keeps trying, and this makes me feel sorry for the monster. He comes across this girl, and she falls into like a river and starts drowning, and he leaps in without hesitating to save her, and he comes out with her in his arms, and the guy she was with has a gun and thinks that he's trying to hurt her, and he gets shot. So because he's superhuman, he doesn't die from it, but he's wounded and also sad. Like, no matter what he does, people are going to reject him because of his appearance. Then he gets to Geneva and he runs into this little kid, and he tries one more time. He's like, hey, this kid's innocent. He hasn't been taught how to hate or anything, so I bet I can befriend him. But the kid also calls him a monster and says, I'm going to tell my dad, Mr. Frankenstein, on you. And then the monster's like, what did you say? Frankenstein? And then he realizes he could hurt Victor really badly, and he strangles that kid on purpose. So some of the movies make it be an accident, the kid's making noise, and so he's trying to make him be quiet, and it's he accidentally strangles him. But in the real book, he strangles him, and he likes doing it. So he's really becoming evil. And why is that? You have to decide. Is he totally responsible for that, or is Victor partly responsible? Okay. So he's telling Victor all this, and then he hands him his diary, and he's like, or his journal, I need you to make me a female, just as ugly as I am, out of dead body parts too, because I cannot be alone. He talks about how he read parts of Paradise Lost, which is all about the fall of Satan. Sorry, my voice is scratchy. And then how he feels like even the devil has friends, he has other demons. He talks about Adam, how he was kind of like Adam and Eve, in that, Adam was the first man, didn't have an earthly father or mother, but Adam's dad, God, loved him and cared about him. And so the monster's just like really conflicted. Anyway, at this point in the novel, he has demanded a female. He's promised that they will not be around people or civilization, but at least he'll have someone. And Victor is trying to decide. He waffles back and forth a lot in the next few chapters, and then actually starts assembling the parts for this body, or this female. And I don't want to tell you what happens because I don't think you've read that far yet. So the monster is really excited about this because he has a chance for happiness. But then you have to stop and think, what about the female? Okay, is she going to like the monster? Is she going to want to be with him and not be around civilization? What happens if they both get mad and then they, terrorize people? Another thing that doesn't really make sense scientifically is that Victor's worried that they might have kids. But technically, since they're humans or, made of human body parts, if they had a kid, it would be a normal kid. Which, again, you'd have to feel sorry for the kid because they'd have just like these monster parents. Anyway, Victor acts like they would be monster babies. So those are some things. But also, the longer the monster has to wait, the more he's going to take out people in Victor's life. What's a great way to get vengeance on someone? Not just killing them, right, because it's done, but taking out people that they care about one by one. So Justine's already dead, William's dead, and the monster's waiting. He's going to wait for this beautiful chick, this female version of him, and then supposedly he'll be happy. And that's it. Let me know if you have any questions.